I am Dr. Anushri Khaute, practicing dermatologist from Goa, practicing at Kollim, Agasaim and Ponda. I am here to talk to you about fungal infections of skin. Now, why this topic is important is because of the tremendous increase in the number of fungal infections that we are seeing, especially in India over the last few years. They have increased a lot as compared to say last 10 to 20 years, and they are also seen to be resistant to the commonly prescribed medications. So why this increase and why this resistance is seen is what I'm going to talk to you about today. So first let's talk a little bit about these fungi. So as we all know, fungi and spores are present widely distributed in our environment. They are present in the soil, they are present on animals, and also on the human skin. There are some fungi which are naturally present. It's only when these fungi increase more than required, or the skin is colonized by those fungi which are not supposed to be present on the skin, is when we suffer from these fungal infections. So coming to the types of fungal infections, there are various methods to classify these types of fungal infections. One easy way could be depending upon the type of fungus that is causing the infection. So the first type most commonly found are the molds or the dermatophytes, which causes dermatophytosis, commonly called ringworm, which affects the uppermost layers of the skin, the dead layers of the skin, nail and hair. Okay, so this is called as ringworm, which I am going to elaborate more about further on. Secondly, there are yeasts and yeast-like fungi, which cause conditions like candidiasis and the more common pityriasis versicolor, which we are more well versed as Shiba in our local language, Konkani in Goa. And the third type is the deep fungal infections, which are caused by different type of fungi, causing deeper infections of the subcutaneous tissue and of the organs, which we won't be talking about today. So next, coming to the predisposing or the causative factors of these fungal infections. What predisposes a person to get these fungal infections? Now again, this can be divided into two types. One is the internal factors, which the host or the patient has, and like certain diseases or certain type of skin which sweats excessively. So among these, the most common would be diabetes mellitus, especially uncontrolled diabetes mellitus, which is such patients are seen to suffer very commonly from fungal infections and respond poorly to treatment. Other factors could be obesity, because in obesity what happens is there are increased folds of skin which are present, and the fungi may thrive within these folds of skin. They will proliferate and cause fungal infections. Other than this, poor hygiene, excessive sweating, some people who sweat excessively or are into sports or certain occupations which make them sweat a lot are predisposed to fungal infections. Immunosuppressed individuals who are on long-term steroid treatment or any other cause which can lead to immunosuppression can predispose to fungal infections. Now these are the host factors which we saw. Other factors are environmental factors, or which are external to the host. Now in this, most important is the climate of the area where you stay, or the seasonal changes in the atmosphere. Fungal infections are more commonly seen in hot, humid places and during the hot summer and monsoon months, because these are very humid, and this is when the air is humid and damp, so the fungus can thrive more easily. Also, the type of clothing that is worn. Loose cotton wear is protective to fungal infections, whereas tight occlusive clothing, synthetic clothing which does not allow evaporation of the sweat, increases one's susceptibility to fungal infections. And very commonly, infected pets. Now even pets, dogs and cats, suffer from these fungal infections called ringworm, and they can be transmitted to their owner. So it's very important to search for these infections in your pets and get them treated at the right time. And one more important is, if one of your family members is already suffering from a fungal infection, you can easily catch it from them, either by direct contact or by sharing of clothes, towels, bed sheets, and also soaps sometimes. So it's very important, if one of the family members is suffering from a fungal infection, they have to be treated at the earliest. So even through inanimate objects, these fungal spores can be transmitted, and that is called as transmission by fomites. So I think we have covered most of the predisposing or causative factors of these fungal infections. Let's move ahead to what are the clinical features or the symptoms of these fungal infections. When do you suspect that you have got a fungal infection? I will be elaborating about two most common fungal infections, that is the ringworm or tinea, which we call, and pityriasis versicolor, or as I said, Shiba. So the first one, ringworm, how it presents is, initially there will be a single or one or two round or oval patches, lesions. Mostly they start on those areas which are occluded, the areas which do not receive aeration, like the groins, the underbreast areas, the armpits or the axillas. And once they begin over here, it will be small in the beginning and it will start growing out centrifugally. You will see a centrifugal spread. Also at the same time, you will see numerous such lesions occurring at the same site, and if it is not treated at this stage, it will spread to other parts of the body, including the face sometimes. So in fact, nowadays, because of mask wearing during this epidemic and the occlusion that it results, a lot of tinea on the face, the ringworm on the face, is becoming common, which is under the mask area. Now this same fungi can cause infection of the nails and of the hair also. In that case, the nails will show changes like decreased luster, brittleness, and loss of the contour of the nail, discoloration of the nail. And in the hair, it can cause scaly patches on the scalp, hair loss, sometimes a boggy swelling with studded with pustules. It can result in hair loss, permanent hair loss, if not treated at the early stages. So which are the common sites where this is found, this ringworm infection? So as I said, initially in the groins, all those areas, and then it can spread to other parts such as the buttocks, the abdomen, any part it can involve. One very distressing symptom of this ringworm infection is severe itching. Patients complain of severe itching, which incapacitates them sometimes. It interferes with their work, it interferes with the sleep. So along with the treatment of tinea infection per se, the itching also has to be treated. Now how the surface of this patches looks like. It is very dry, has scaling, and appears reddish initially. After some days it might look darker in color. So you should treat it at the earliest. When you see one or two patches, that is when you have to go and show a dermatologist and get it treated. Now second infection that I am going to talk about is pityriasis versicolor. This has a lesser dramatic, not so dramatic presentation as the ringworm infection. You will see a few spots which are usually light colored, whitish, or darker, sometimes brownish, or sometimes even reddish colored spots, which are distributed on the upper body usually. So the upper back, the shoulders, the chest area, and also the face, especially in children, and upper arms. And if you scratch these spots, you will find scaling. These do not itch, and also they don't have a tendency to spread from one person to the other. So now that you know that someone you know or you yourself have got a fungal infection, what is to be done? You have to visit a dermatologist and never self-medicate. So once you visit a dermatologist, do not expect elaborate tests or blood workup, nothing. Usually it is just a visual inspection of the lesion which confirms the diagnosis. Yes, only if the dermatologist suspects an underlying condition like diabetes, because of which there are extensive lesions, or if you are not responding to treatment which is given initially, in those cases we may ask for 1 or 2 tests such as blood sugar levels, or very rarely sometimes the scraping from the skin may be examined under microscope, but these are very rarely done. Usually it's just by visual inspection. So coming to the important part, that is treatment. So treatment is of fungal infections, if you have suffered from it the first time, is easier, and in the early days it is easier as compared to chronic ringworm infection. Hence the reason you have to treat it as early as possible. So treatment options, if the lesions are very less in number, 1 or 2, and very small, the dermatologist might prescribe you only application. So there is application treatment, there is oral treatment, and the hygiene measures which have to be practiced throughout. So coming to the application, there are numerous antifungals available. So depending upon the type of tinea, type of ringworm that you have got and where you have got it, you may be prescribed an antifungal which suits you and your condition by your dermatologist. So some antifungals come as creams, gels. Over hairy areas, gels or lotions are preferred. Over nails, nail folds, sometimes you get infections of the interdigital space also. In those cases again, lotions are preferred. And on the other areas such as the hands, legs, ointments are given. Again, the number of times to be applied also changes according to the type of the antifungal which is prescribed. Some are prescribed once a day, some are twice, or some are given thrice a day. So now, if you are having extensive fungal infection, extensive ringworm, or a bit of a chronic condition, you have not got it treated for 1 or 2 months, in those cases definitely you need to be started right away on oral antifungals. Now again, oral antifungals are, which oral antifungal is to be prescribed. There are number of factors which are considered before giving oral antifungals, whether you are diabetic, which are the other medicines that you take, whether you are in the pediatric age group, whether you are a child, an adult, pregnant. All these factors are taken into account, and then only an antifungal is prescribed. So you need to tell your dermatologist about these conditions or the tablets, other tablets which you are taking, because there are interactions between these oral antifungals and the other tablets. Also, this is one of the reasons why one should not self-medicate. If someone else from the family has been given a particular tablet, it may not be the best tablet for you. So you need to visit a dermatologist and get individual treatment. So apart from this oral tablets and creams, also soaps and powders are given to the patients. They are antifungal soaps and powders which are available over the counter, but they definitely go a long way in decreasing the amount of sweating, improving the hygiene of the patient, and also they can be used as a maintenance treatment to prevent recurrence. So they are given along with the tablets and creams. Now the duration of the treatment varies. Again, it may be somewhere between 2 weeks to sometimes even 6 or 8 weeks. Now important is to follow up when you are told to. Sometimes patients may stop the medications thinking that the condition has improved, which may lead to recurrence of the infection. And sometimes what happens is the same treatment the patients keep continuing for 2-3 months. Now this can result in resistance, and the next time you get the fungal infection, you may not respond to the same treatment which was given to you earlier. So that's why it's very important not to self-medicate and not to alter the duration of the treatment other than what is prescribed to you. Now certain don'ts which I want to tell you about the treatment of fungal infections. Never go for over-the-counter treatments, over-the-counter creams which are available from the pharmacies, because these might not be antifungals, or they might be combination of an antifungal with a steroid. Now the problem with steroid is that initially it might reduce your symptoms of itching, it might reduce the size of the lesions, but over time what happens is it increases in the severity. So the look of the lesion will change. It will develop multiple margins. Usually these patches have a raised margin. So if steroid is applied, they'll have multiple margins, and they will stop responding to the first line treatment which we give. They will become more and more resistant because of the steroids. And other than that, other creams might be not even antifungal, they might be antibiotic creams which do not have any effect on fungal infections. Sometimes very strong acids called salicylic acid is available in the form of support lotion, which many people apply, and this results in burns which leave scars which will never go. Even if we treat the fungal infection, the scars are going to be there lifelong. And plus most of the creams which have steroids, I forgot to mention, will give you long-term side effects such as stretch marks, increased hair growth on those areas, lesions like acne appearing on those areas, and a lot of thinning of skin and lot of other side effects. So please do not self-medicate. Please go to a dermatologist and get your medicines prescribed. So other than that, most important is preventive measures. That is the last thing we'll be talking about. Preventive measures so that you do not catch a fungal infection, and if you have already got a fungal infection and got treated, so that you do not get it again. So these are very simple measures. Daily bath is most important. It is very important to have daily bath, if not twice, then at least once. And after bath, pat yourself completely dry. Only after you're completely dried yourself, then only you wear your clothes. You should completely avoid sharing your towels, clothes with other members even of the same family, because you never know who is suffering from a fungal infection. If possible, it would be advisable to wash your clothes separately if possible, and use a separate soap at all times. Antifungal powders could be used as a preventive measure over sweaty areas or people who sweat a lot, as these are readily available over the counter. Even you can put them in your socks and shoes, people who have to wear shoes at workplace. Use of antiperspirants in areas such as the armpits which sweat a lot. And coming to clothes have to be loose cotton wear, especially during the summer hot humid months. At least majority of the times try to wear these loose cotton clothes unless and until it is not possible at all. And as I said, wash them separately if possible. Now once these clothes once worn should not be repeated. I come across a lot of patients who are in the habit of hanging their used clothes and using the same clothes the next day or maybe next week. But what happens is the fungal spores, they stay in these clothes, and also they might not get dried out completely of the sweat, and they may give you the fungal infection. So wash your clothes before re-wearing them and dry them completely in sunlight. Especially the undergarments have to be dried inside out in sunlight. If in those days when the sunshine is not available, like during the monsoon months, you can iron your undergarments inside out. And same thing applies to socks also. Wash your socks regularly, dry them out in the sun, use antifungal powders for your shoes, and do not self-medicate. Do not apply any cream over the counter which you have no knowledge about. So these are some simple things in which we can prevent ourselves from catching a fungal infection. So that I think sums up about fungal infections. Any questions or queries you can ask, I'll try to answer them. Does chances of fungal infection increase during rainy season? Yes, definitely, because there is a lot of moisture and dampness everywhere. So the same thing happens in the occluded areas of the body, and fungus thrives in such damp conditions. So it is not only more commonly seen, but it also responds less to treatment because of the lack of aeration, especially in our climate like what we see in Goa. Suggest a good treatment for onychomycosis. Okay, so onychomycosis means fungal infection of the nails. So as I told you, you will see a change in the appearance of the nail. It will become brittle, lusterless, discolored. So here the type of antifungal we prescribe comes in the form of a lacquer. The lacquer is applied once or twice a week, and on other days you may be prescribed a lotion which you can use daily. Plus oral antifungal becomes important in case of onychomycosis, because it is a little difficult for medicines to penetrate into the nail, and it is a longer course also. So we give pulse therapies of antifungals about 7 days in each month for around 4 to 6 months sometimes, and that improves fungal infection of the nail. What precautions should we take to avoid getting fungal infection in rainy season? This is the same thing that I've told. You have to ensure that you have completely patted yourself dry after a bath. You can use talcum powders or antifungal powders before putting on your clothes. The clothes have to be washed and dried. Now in rains, you may not get sunlight, so iron them, or at least ensure sufficient amount of break between the wearing of the same clothes so that they are completely dried under the fan. Any other queries? Okay, no one has asked this, but I would like to add something about treatment of fungal infections in pregnancy and in children. So in pregnancy, the oral antifungals that we use are not safe. So first of all, it is very important to tell your doctor about a pregnancy if it's existing. In this cases, only application treatments are given, and so the course will be prolonged. You will have to come for follow-ups, and other family members will have to be treated so that the source of the infection is taken care of. And only if absolutely required, an oral antifungal will be prescribed. Only one of them is safe, that too during the later months of pregnancy. So all this has to be told. And secondly, in children, they respond usually better than adults because their shedding of skin is faster. So the fungal infection also sheds out faster. So in them, only topical treatment creams work and they are treated faster. So oral antifungals, yes, sometimes they are given, but again the doses and everything is lesser. So do not treat children with the same doses that were given for you as an adult. What food kills fungus in my body? Now there is nothing like dietary factors in fungal infections. So it's more of the hygiene measures, the external measures that you take, unless you suffer from something like diabetes, wherein you are supposed to take a diet which is high in fiber and less of sugar and oily foods. So yes, if you have diabetes, and in that case your diet becomes important, but otherwise for fungal infections per se, diet does not play a very important role. Yes, itraconazole is safe in children above 6 years of age. Lesser than that, we give fluconazole, which comes in once a week dosing. Fluconazole can be given to even infants according to the weight. That was the answer to the is itraconazole safe in children. Antifungals in general have a good safety profile. Would you advise against OTC creams like Candid? The reason why I advise against OTC creams is because they may not contain only an antifungal. Usually what I have seen is that all these OTC products contain a small amount of steroid or some other, they will be a combination of an antifungal and an antibiotic cream. If it is plain Candid, then yes, you can use, but Candid cream is, in studies it is shown that Candid cream which contains clotrimazole is now becoming less and less efficacious in treating fungal infections. It used to be very effective 20 years back, but now there are newer antifungals coming up because clotrimazole has become an old antifungal to which most of the fungal strains have become resistant, especially the ringworm. Is there any role of immunity in fungal infection? Yes, immunity is very important. Immunosuppressed people who have been on long-term steroid treatment or who are on immunosuppressants because of various conditions, cancer treatment, HIV individuals who have had HIV. In all those individuals, fungal infections are not only more common, but they appear widespread and they do not get treated easily unless the underlying cause of immunosuppression is stopped. How long can we take antifungal medicines? This is depending upon the patient. Each patient has a different type of presentation, different number of lesions. So sometimes you might be prescribed for 1 week, sometimes for 2 weeks, but the usual period is between 2 to 4 weeks. After 4 weeks, usually we do a blood test to check for your liver function, and only if it is not responding to 4 weeks of treatment, we will consider giving for a longer time or shifting to another antifungal. Okay, we will be taking some last few questions. Anything you all want to know? Many patients discontinue their treatment once lesions subside within 1 week. Yes, this is very commonly seen, and this is why fungal infection is seen to not respond to treatment later on and come back with with a vengeance. So that's why after 1 week, if you see your lesions completely subsiding, and they will, if you have got the fungal infection for the first time, it is very responsive to treatment, and after 1 week it will go away. But it is very important for you to show your doctor how your condition is right now and whether you should stop. Please ask your doctor before stopping your antifungal treatment, because after stopping of oral tablets, the creams have to be continued for at least 1 or 2 weeks after stopping the oral treatment, so that it does not come back, and you have to continue the soap and antifungal powders for a little longer. For that all will be told to you by your doctor, so it is very important to follow up. What can naturally kill the fungus? Only proper hygiene measures, nothing else. Don't try home remedies. they will only irritate the skin, and it will not clear out the fungus. Can I use clotrimazole dusting powder? Yes, you can use it. It is available over the counter and it is safe in the private areas. It is safe to be used in the socks when you're wearing shoes. Yes, if you are someone who excessively sweats, you can use the candid powder, the clotrimazole dusting powder, which is available over the counter. Any other question? About the itching, also this no one has asked, but I will elaborate a bit on the itching. So the itching is so severe in fungal infection, for which in the initial few days you may be given an antihistaminic treatment tablet, which is given for the initial period, after which your itching does subside once the antifungal treatment has taken effect. So that is why the antihistamine is given in the initial few days. Is there any role of oral antifungal for prophylaxis of fungal infection? Prevention of fungal infection, for that taking antifungal treatment, no, because that will give rise to a lot of resistance. Before the fungal infection has occurred, you are taking treatment for it, so that can give rise to a lot of resistance, so not recommended. Only if you already have a fungal infection is when you should take the antifungal treatment. After sports, itching in the groin areas and redness, yes, this is common. So as I said, for this, the most effective method would be to go for antifungal powders to absorb the sweating which is going to happen, and also immediately after you have sweat so much, have a bath, preferably if possible with an antifungal soap if already the itching and redness has started, and if it is not subsiding with hygiene measures, you can show a dermatologist to rule out a fungal infection. And loose cotton clothes also, because occlusive clothing, synthetic clothing will prevent the evaporation of the sweat and cause the fungus to thrive. Method to apply an antifungal cream on the patches. Now the patches, as I said, they come circular or oval patches they are, so they have a raised margin. So when you apply the cream, the cream has to be applied on the lesion as well as on the margin and a little bit outside, about 2 centimeters outside the margin, to ensure efficient coverage of that lesion, so that you don't miss out any parts. Yes, I think that's all.